Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and today I'm going to be giving you guys my book, movie, and TV show recommendations for fall. Fall is my favorite season if you can't tell. I mean, why else would I be in a sweater and scarf when outside of my apartment it is like 85, 90 degrees. Everything about this season just screams home and comfort to me, and I thought I would share some of my recommendations so you guys could have a cozy fall as well. As I said earlier, this list will include books, but also movies and TV shows. Last year I did a cozy fall recommendations video where I just did books, and if you'd like to check that out to get even more recommendations, I will link it above and below. This year I tried to do all new recommendations so that if you watch that one, you'll get a whole new set of books. I thought it would be fun to include movies and TV shows because a lot of the time I get asked what are my favorite movies and TV shows depending on the season, so I thought it'd be easiest to, just share those quickly in this video as well. I am so excited to get to this video, so let's get started with my book recommendations. The first book I have on my list is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a fantastical middle grade that follows the story of Luna, who is the latest in a line of babies from her village to be sacrificed to the evil witch in the woods in order to keep their town safe. What the villagers of the town don't know is that the evil witch in question, Zan, is actually a gentlewoman and very kind, and she takes these abandoned babies and finds them new homes across the forest. However, when Zan accidentally feeds Luna moonlight instead of starlight, Luna becomes immagicked. That is, she is imbued with all these magical powers, and Zan decides to raise Luna herself, and it is all about Luna growing up, discovering her magic, and the truth behind all these abandoned babies from her village. This book is so cozy, it is so sweet. It is all about found family and kindness. You fall in love with all of the characters, especially Luna, who is just such a special young girl. This book, I don't know, it makes me feel really protected and comfortable. There is something about found family that is just so powerful when you're reading it. All you want to do is be a part of that family, and in a way when you read it, you are. It is just such a cozy book that I highly recommend picking up, from the setting to the magic system to the mystery behind it all. It is such an engaging and wonderful book, perfect for the fall. The next book on this list is a really popular one to read in the fall time, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I've talked about before on this channel how me and V.E. Schwab have a weird relationship. That is, I have a weird relationship with her writing. I have read a few things by her that I haven't really meshed well with my own personal preferences, but for some reason The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is the one book by her that I can say with full certainty that I adored and thought was so magical. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue follows a girl named Adeline who makes a Faustian deal with the devil in order to escape an arranged marriage. She wants to live forever. She wants to see the world, and the devil gives her this bargain with the caveat that no one she meets will ever remember her. Addie then has to go through the centuries completely alone, with no one remembering her face or her name, doomed to live this isolated existence, until one day in, I believe, 2014, someone remembers her. This story is kind of dark, and it's all about the meaning of life, what it means to be human, what is existence, and what is humanity. Those types of dark philosophical questions are those I really associate with fall. I think it's really interesting to read, to see Addie's life, because you kind of get flashbacks. You see her living her life in the 21st century, and then you also get to see her live in the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s, and kind of about how even though she is in this moment, frozen in time, how she does not age and she does not change, everything is changing around her, and there's just something so fascinating to me about that. It is just such a magical book. It made me sob. I don't know, it's just such a really great fall book. The next book I have to share with you is a bit lighter, and that is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. In The Inheritance Games, our main heroine has to solve a myriad of multi-layered puzzles in order to find out why she is the recipient of this billionaire's inheritance. While doing that, she also has to deal with the billionaire's scorned family, including 4 of his very handsome grandsons. If you enjoy mysteries, if you liked Knives Out, you will probably really enjoy the inheritance games. There is something so fun about trying to solve a mystery along with the characters. I found myself really trying to solve the puzzles even when I wasn't reading the book. I would be in class and I would be like, oh my god, what does this mean? Like trying to figure out the rhymes and the riddles. It was such an engaging book in that sense, and I think that mystery goes along really well with fall. I'm not quite sure why, but I just feel like they go hand in hand, and I loved following our heroine on this journey, and the 4 hot grandsons weren't a bad addition either. You will just fall in love with all of them. I love books that keep you engaged from start to end, and this definitely fits that. So if you are looking for a fast-paced, super engaging read for the fall, this is a great choice. The next book I'm going to recommend to you all is definitely a contender for the top 5 books that I've read in 2021, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I know last year I recommended The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern for fall, and I also recommend that one still, but The Starless Sea is just such a special story. It's definitely not for everyone. It is out of chronological order. It is so many different stories weaved into one that it gets kind of confusing sometimes, but overall it is just such a cool, smart, complex, and cozy read. The Starless Sea is a tale about an underground labyrinth that serves as a sanctuary to stories and storytellers, and it's called the Starless Sea. The story also follows a young man who has found a storybook in his library, including one that is about him. As he begins to investigate this mysterious book, he finds himself getting drawn deeper and deeper into the Starless Sea and this place of pirates, lovers, secrets, and stories. As I said, this is definitely an unconventional writing style. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you are a lover of literature, definitely check this out. I mean, it is just such a masterpiece. I cannot rave about this book enough, and I just highly recommend you give it a try. Next on my list, I have another mystery, because I just think mysteries and fall go so well together, and that would be Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. Truly Devious follows a girl named Stevie Bell who has been accepted to the prestigious Ellingham Academy, where every student gets to kind of pick what they study, and she loves crime. So Stevie Bell has decided to study crime, and there is no better place to study it than the location where in 1936 one of the most notorious crimes in the nation took place. Stevie is obsessed with getting to the bottom of this huge murder mystery that took place at the academy she is now attending, but the crimes are made all the more real when one of her housemates ends up being murdered, and the person taking credit for the murder calls them truly devious, just as they did in 1936. This book is a combination mystery, thriller, it has dark academia, it has romance. There is just so many good things about this book. It is so enjoyable. Like the inheritance games, it is one that keeps you engaged from the beginning to the end, because you find yourself trying to solve the mystery along with our main character of what happened in the past and what is happening now in the present. I loved Stevie. I definitely felt like I could relate to her. She talks early on about her anxiety, and I just felt such a connection to her character, and it was just so much fun. It's just a murder mystery that you could read snuggled up with the blankets, with a candle on your side table. It's just the perfect atmospheric book, and I highly recommend it if you would like a bit of a murder mystery involved in your fall reading plans. The last book I have on here is a fantasy, and it is one of my favorite fantasy series of all times, and I think fall is the perfect time of year to read it, and that would be Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Caraval follows Scarlet Dragna and her sister Tella as they live on this island with their powerful and cruel father, where Scarlet dreams of seeing the outside world, and specifically the event called Caraval, which is a faraway once-a-year performance where the audience actually participates in the show. This year, Scarlett's long-dreamt invitation to Caraval finally arrives, and Scarlett, along with her sister Tella and the help of a mysterious sailor, travel to Caraval, but immediately upon arrival to the island, her sister is taken by the organizer of Caraval named Legend. It turns out that this season's Caraval revolves around Scarlett, and she has to find her sister before any of the other patrons at this carnival do. It is such a cool book. It is carnival themed. There are so many exciting characters, and this book is great, but the series as a whole is just such a masterpiece. The first book gives you a glimpse into it, but wow, just Stephanie Garber wrote this amazing book that gets better with each installment. So I highly recommend checking out the entire Caraval series. It's so interesting. The romance is great. The dark carnival aesthetic is so perfect for this season, and it's just such a wonderful fantasy, and I highly recommend you check it out. So that is it for the books I am recommending you guys. Now let's move on to some cozy fall TV shows. I am sure my first pick will be of surprise to no one, because when people think fall, people think this show, and that is Gilmore Girls. Gilmore Girls is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. I do a yearly rewatch starting September 1st. I actually have a little graphic here that shows you when I watch which seasons, and if you would like to follow along, please do. I love watching this, and it's just one of my favorite comfort shows. If you have no idea what this show is, Gilmore Girls focuses on the life of Lorelai Gilmore and her daughter Rory. Lorelai had Rory at 16, ran away from home, and decided to raise this young daughter all on her own. The show mainly focuses on their day-to-day lives as Lorelai runs this big inn in town, and Rory goes through high school and all the pressures and drama that come with that. Gilmore Girls is really just a snapshot into the lives of these two women. Over the course of these seasons, you just fall so in love with not only Lorelai and Rory, but with everyone who lives in their little town called Stars Hollow. The setting is beautiful, the characters are so witty and funny, and you become so attached to them. Everything is thought out, from the background characters to the locations. Just everything is so perfect and so atmospherically fall, even though the show takes place all year round. It is just such a special show that I've watched personally since I was a little girl, and it is one I will continue to watch well into adulthood, probably past that. If you would like to watch Gilmore Girls, it's on Netflix. I'm not quite sure where else it's streaming, but I highly recommend giving it a try, or if you've watched it before, highly recommend rewatching it in fall. It is a whole other experience. The next show I'm going to recommend to you is one that is so near and dear to my heart, and that would be Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time is the story of Emma Swan, who is an adult with a very troubled past, when one day her son, who she had given up for adoption, knocks on her door and tells her to come with him to this mystical little town where he claims a bunch of fairy tale characters are cursed to live normal lives, and he needs her help breaking the curse. I remember when this show came out in 2011, I was 11, and so was the character of the son. His name is Henry, and I felt such a connection to him because this was someone who believed in fairy tales and in stories, and I resonated with that so much. I love the retelling of different fairy tale characters, from Beauty and the Beast to Snow White. I loved the emphasis on strong women and redemption, and how everyone deserves a second chance. It was just such an interesting story. You get the story of Emma trying to save her family in the present, and you also get flashbacks from the Enchanted Forest with all these different fairy tales playing out, and it's just such a great show with so many amazing seasons, so many comforting characters, and I don't know, there's something about fairy tales that are just perfect for the fall, and I highly recommend, if you have not checked this show out, to do so, because it is something so special that I think both kids and adults can relate to. You can watch Once Upon a Time on Disney+, and I just highly recommend checking it out this season. Now we are going to move on to some movies. The first movie I'm going to recommend to you guys is Coco, and this is a Disney Pixar film. It is on Disney Plus, and it is perfect for fall. Coco is the story of 12-year-old Miguel, who is accidentally transported to the land of the dead and has to seek out his great-great-great-grandfather, who is a musician, to help him get back to the land of the living and help him lift his family's ban on music. This is just such a magical story taking place around the Day of the Dead with so many beautiful autumn scenes and magic. I love the art style, the animation style. It is so wonderful and the music is so great. I absolutely love it. If you are looking for an adventurous, magical story, look no further than Coco. Even though it is marketed as a younger kids movie, I think that adults can enjoy it all the same. If you just have a little bit of magic in your heart, you will adore this movie. The final movie I'm going to recommend to you, and the final thing on this recommendations list, is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. So this is based on a true story between Fred Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Lloyd Vogel, who is this jaded journalist who has been assigned to do a profile on Fred Rogers. This is all about Lloyd overcoming his skepticism and learning about empathy and kindness and decency from everyone's favorite neighbor. I grew up watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Mr. Rogers is a very special figure in a lot of kids' lives, and this movie starring Tom Hanks is just such a beautiful ode to him and his legacy. It is everything you would want out of a fall film. It's emphasis on kindness and being kind to others. It is just such a beautiful biopic, and if you like Mr. Rogers, I highly recommend checking out this really wonderful film. And those are all of my cozy fall recommendations. I hope you guys will leave your cozy fall books, TV shows, and movies down below so I can check them out. If you guys liked this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Hit the notification bell to get updates on when I post. Most of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed to me, so if you could just take a second to click on that subscribe button, it would mean a lot to me. And I will see you guys next week in my next video. Bye!